Okay, so it looks like all you listeners out there have sent in a whole stack of articles.
Oh, yeah.
With titles like Cinema versus Streaming and Cinema's Future, Theaters versus Streaming.
So...
Sounds like a hot topic.
Yeah. Looks like we're diving right into the billion-dollar question that's keeping Hollywood up at night. Can movie theaters really survive alongside these streaming giants?
Well, it's so fascinating, to see how we've gone from those grand old movie palaces to streaming like 3.2 hours a day on average.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Talk about a plot twist, right?
Really is. To really unpack all of this, I think we have to rewind the film reel a little bit.
Okay.
Those classic theaters weren't just buildings. They were cultural events.
Absolutely. Imagine walking into one of those movie palaces, with
Yeah.
the ornate architecture and the plush seats. And just the buzz of anticipation in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Going to the movies back then, it was an experience, a shared ritual. It really was. And, that shared experience, some filmmakers today worry that is being lost in the age of streaming.
Yeah.
We're going to get to all of those arguments a little bit later.
Okay.
But first, let's set the stage with some of the giants of cinema.
All right.
You've got in your sources iconic directors like Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, yeah.
Master of suspense.
Of course.
And Orson Welles, who really just broke all the rules with his innovative techniques.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's not forget the visual artistry. Cinematographers like Greg Toland, whose work on Citizen Kane, people are still studying that today.
Well, yeah.
It showed us what was possible with lighting and composition.
It's incredible.
The way he used deep focus, where the foreground and background are both in sharp focus.
Right.
It just added these layers of meaning to each shot.
It really makes you wonder if those films hit differently on a giant screen versus, say, watching on your phone.
That's a great question that I think we'll keep coming back to. But before we go too deep into the present, your sources also mention the passing of Gene Hackman.
Oh, yeah.
A true legend of that golden era of film.
Huge loss for cinema. Whether he was chasing down criminals in The French Connection or playing the grizzled outlaw in Unforgiven.
Oh, yeah.
Hackman brought this raw intensity to every role.
Absolutely. He just highlighted the power of great acting to draw you into a story.
It's true, but as you mentioned, the way we experience these stories really started to shift with the arrival of platforms like Netflix.
It did, and that shift happened so fast.
It really did.
It's wild to think that Netflix introduced streaming in 2007.
Wow.
And by 2023, they had 238 million subscribers worldwide.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and then the pandemic hit in 2020.
Oh, yeah.
And suddenly, global box office revenue went from $42 billion down to $12 billion.
Wow. That's
a massive drop.
That's a huge drop.
Yeah. And it really sent shockwaves through the entire industry.
Oh, it did. Studios were scrambling to figure out what to do. Theaters were shutting down left and right.
Yeah.
It was chaos.
Those are the chaotic time.
It was.
But it also made the advantages of streaming so obvious.
Oh, yeah.
Convenience is a huge one, right?
Oh, yeah.
With Netflix available in like 190 countries.
Wow.
You can access this incredible library of films and shows without ever leaving your couch.
I know it.
No travel, no overpriced popcorn.
Yeah.
Just endless entertainment.
It's dangerous.
It is.
Not to mention the variety.
Oh, my gosh.
Streaming platforms are just pumping out original content from these blockbuster series like Stranger Things to Oscar-winning films like Roma.
Absolutely. And they're also giving a voice to more diverse stories like The Farewell, which might not have gotten a wide theatrical release otherwise.
That's true, and that's a key point, the democratization of storytelling. Streaming has opened doors for creators and perspectives that might have been overlooked in the traditional studio system.
For sure.
But let's be real here.
Okay.
This explosion of content also creates this problem of oversaturation.
It does.
With over 500 new shows being released every year.
It's a lot.
Even a critically acclaimed film like Everything Everywhere All at Once could easily get lost in the algorithm.
Yeah, it's true.
It makes you wonder if we're sacrificing quality for quantity.
It's a valid concern, and it really brings us to the heart of this whole debate.
Yeah.
Does the shift to streaming mean that we're sacrificing the magic of the big screen experience?
That's where things get interesting. Let's talk about some of those arguments for and against streaming.
Okay.
And what some of cinema's biggest names have to say about this cinematic showdown.
Right.
If we've got streaming, making entertainment so much more accessible than ever.
It really is.
But is all this convenience coming at a cost? Some filmmakers would argue that, nothing can truly replicate the magic of seeing a film on the big screen.
That's right. And think about like the sheer scale of a movie like Dune, right?
Yeah.
Projected on a giant IMAX screen.
Yeah.
With a sound system that makes you feel every rumble in the sand.
Oh, yeah.
It's a totally visceral experience that just can't be replicated at home, no matter how big your TV is.
And I hear you. I saw Dune in IMAX, and it was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
The scope, the sound design. It was like being transported to another world.
It's true. And Christopher Nolan,
Oh, yeah.
the director known for those epic films like Inception and Interstellar.
Oh, yeah.
He's been very vocal about this.
Yeah.
He believes that films are meant to be seen in theaters.
Right.
That the communal experience, actually enhances the emotional impact of the story.
Right.
He has a point,
Yeah.
There is something powerful about experiencing a film alongside other people. Sharing those gasps of surprise or those bursts of laughter or even those moments of quiet reflection, it creates a sense of connection, a shared understanding of the story's power.
That's true, but isn't it kind of ironic that Scorsese, who is also a huge champion of theaters, directed The Irishman for Netflix?
You're right. That's a great point.
Yeah.
And it really highlights, I think, the complexity of this whole debate.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as streaming is bad and theaters are good.
Right.
Even filmmakers who advocate for that theatrical experience
Yeah.
are recognizing the opportunities that streaming platforms offer,
Yeah.
particularly when it comes to reaching a wider audience.
Right. So maybe it's not about, choosing sides.
Yeah.
But rather just recognizing the strengths of each format.
Exactly. And when it comes to the visual impact of cinema, we can't forget about the artists behind the camera.
The cinematographers.
Yes, cinematographers like Roger Deakins.
Oh, yeah.
Who's known for his stunning work on films like Blade Runner 2049 and 1917.
Yeah.
I mean, he creates images specifically designed for the big screen.
So what makes Deakins' work so unique for the big screen?
Well, he meticulously plans every shot with the theatrical experience in mind.
Wow.
He considers how the composition, the lighting, the color will all play out on that large canvas.
Really?
He understands the power of visual storytelling and how to use those elements to just create these immersive worlds that draw you in.
It's true. Okay, so we've got directors and cinematographers making arguments for the big screen?
Yeah.
What about the actors?
Right. Well, the performances of actors like Meryl Streep, Daniel Day-Lewis, Viola Davis, they're captivating regardless of the medium.
Oh, yeah.
But there is an undeniable power in seeing their nuanced expressions.
Yeah.
Their subtle gestures projected larger than life.
That's true.
Their performances really resonate differently in a theatrical setting.
They do. So we've got these legendary figures in Hollywood arguing for the preservation of this theatrical experience. But there's also the issue of revenue, how these filmmakers get paid.
Yeah, that's another key difference.
Yeah.
With box office numbers, we can clearly see, how much a film makes in theaters.
Yeah.
But streaming royalties, those payments that filmmakers receive based on viewership are a bit more opaque.
Right.
There's less transparency,
Yeah.
which makes it harder to really gauge a film's success
Right.
and can impact future funding for those filmmakers.
That makes sense. And then there's also this question of, is streaming actually harming the film industry?
Yeah.
By contributing to a decline in overall quality?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
On one hand, streaming has opened doors for so many diverse stories and independent filmmakers who might not have had a chance in the traditional studio system.
Like Kodo, which won Best Picture.
Exactly.
It was released on Apple TV+. And, it might not have had the same impact with a limited theatrical release.
Exactly. But on the other hand, this influx of content can lead to a sense of oversaturation.
I know it.
When you have 500 plus new shows a year, all competing for attention.
Right.
It can be overwhelming for viewers.
It's true.
It's kind of like being in a giant supermarket.
Yeah.
With endless aisles of cereal.
I know it.
You might just end up grabbing the first box that catches your eye.
Right.
Instead of taking the time to find the hidden gem.
That's such a good analogy.
It is, and it really highlights the challenge of discoverability in the age of streaming.
Yeah.
How do we ensure that quality films, regardless of genre or budget,
Yeah.
actually get seen amidst all the noise?
That's the question. Okay, so we've got all this tension
Yeah.
between the magic of the big screen experience and the convenience and the diversity offered by streaming.
Right.
Where do we go from here? Where do you see all of this heading?
Well, one trend that we're seeing is this rise of hybrid releases.
Okay. Where studios are kind of experimenting with releasing films simultaneously in theaters and on streaming platforms like HBO Max.
Interesting.
Dune 2 is a prime example of this strategy.
So they're basically giving viewers the choice of how they want to experience the film.
Exactly.
That's really interesting, but wouldn't that risk hurting box office numbers?
It's a gamble for sure.
Yeah.
You know, the studios are trying to find that sweet spot,
Yeah.
catering to these different audience preferences
Yeah.
while maximizing profits.
Right.
Only time will tell how successful this strategy will be in the long run.
Yeah.
But it shows that the industry is adapting,
Yeah.
trying to find new ways to reach audiences in this rapidly changing landscape.
What about these new technologies that are kind of blurring the lines even more
Yeah.
between the theatrical experience and the home viewing experience?
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned 4K HDR
Yes.
and VR cinema.
Yes.
Can you unpack those a little bit for us?
Absolutely. So 4K HDR, which stands for 4K High Dynamic Range.
Offers incredibly sharp and detailed images
Okay.
with a wider range of colors and contrast.
Yeah.
And it's designed to really enhance the viewing experience on home TVs.
Right.
To kind of bring them closer to the visual quality that you would expect in a theater.
So basically just better picture quality at home.
Exactly. And then you have VR cinema,
Yeah.
which takes things a step further.
Okay.
Platforms like Oculus venues
Uh-huh.
allow you to actually watch films in a virtual reality environment using a VR headset.
Oh, wow.
So imagine putting on the headset and feeling like you're actually sitting in a movie theater.
Wow.
Surrounded by other virtual viewers.
That is wild.
Yeah.
It sounds like the future of immersive storytelling, but does it really compare to the real deal?
It's a different kind of experience for sure.
Okay.
While it can't replicate the same scale and visual fidelity of a true IMAX theater,
Right.
VR cinema offers a level of immersion that's
Yeah.
unique to that format.
Right.
You know, you can look around in 360 degrees, feel like you're part of the action.
Yeah.
It's still early days for VR cinema,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a technology to watch.
That's interesting. So it seems like we're headed toward this future where the lines between theatrical and home viewing are becoming increasingly blurred.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned earlier, you know, the theaters still have the power
Right.
to create these cultural events.
They do.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Take the Barbenheimer phenomenon, for example.
Oh, yeah. Everyone was talking about that.
Right. The simultaneous release of Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
That wasn't just lucky timing.
Right.
You know, it tapped into this cultural desire for these shared experiences.
Right.
That contrast in genres, the marketing brilliance of pitting, you know, a pink-hued fantasy against this, like, historical drama.
Right.
It created buzz. It sparked conversations.
Yeah.
It got people excited to actually go to the theater.
It's more than just watching two movies.
Yeah.
It became like a social event,
Okay.
a statement, you know,
Yeah.
a chance to kind of participate in this larger cultural moment.
It really did.
And it proved that theaters can still be relevant,
Mm-hmm.
even in the face of, you know, streaming's dominance.
Exactly. Barbenheimer reminded us of the power of these shared experiences.
Yeah.
And how theaters can actually foster a sense of community.
I think you're right. And let's not forget about the global film market,
Oh, yeah.
which is like a whole other layer
Hey,
to this whole conversation.
You're right. While Hollywood might be grappling with all of these changes, local theaters in countries like India and Nigeria are thriving.
You know, you've got Bollywood in India, which is this massive film industry,
Yeah.
and Nollywood in Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the fastest growing film industries in the world.
It is,
These theaters cater to local audiences,
right?
offering films that reflect their cultures and their languages.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reminder that the future of cinema isn't just about Hollywood blockbusters.
Right. It's about these diverse storytelling traditions from all around the world finding their audience.
And that's where streaming can actually play a positive role
Yeah.
by making these films more accessible to viewers globally.
Absolutely. So we've got all of these powerful forces at play.
It's true.
The allure of the big screen, the convenience of streaming, and the rise of global cinema.
Yeah. How do we make sense of all of it?
Well, I think it comes down to recognizing that cinema isn't like this monolithic entity.
Right.
It's a constantly evolving art form,
Yeah.
adapting to new technologies and changing audience habits.
So it's not about choosing one format over the other,
Yeah,
but rather understanding how they can coexist and complement each other.
precisely. As Scorsese famously said, cinema is a matter of what's in the frame and what's out.
Oh, yeah.
And both streaming and theaters play a role in framing those stories for us.
That's a great way to put it. But for the viewer at home trying to navigate this ever-changing landscape,
Yeah.
what does it all mean?
It means we have more choices than ever before.
That's true.
We can curate our own cinematic experiences, choosing the format that best suits our needs and preferences.
Right.
Do we want the immersive spectacle of the big screen or the comfort and convenience of streaming?
Right.
Do we want to explore Hollywood blockbusters, independent films, international cinema?
Mm-hmm.
The options are endless.
But with all these choices,
Yeah.
it also raises some important questions about how we consume and engage with film.
It does.
Does the platform itself change how we perceive the art?
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
Is a film experienced differently on a massive screen versus on our phones?
Right.
Does the context affect our emotional connection to the story?
It might.
And with these streaming algorithms constantly suggesting what we should watch next,
Yeah.
are we missing out on the joy of discovering hidden gems on our own?
That's a good question.
These are all questions worth pondering
as
we navigate this new era of cinema.
It really feels like we are living through this pivotal moment
Oh,
in cinematic history.
Absolutely. And like any major shift, there are going to be both exciting opportunities and these inevitable growing pains.
It's true, but no matter how technology evolves or how we choose to consume these films,
Right.
one thing remains constant.
I think so too. What's that?
That power of cinema to just transport us to other worlds,
Oh, yeah.
to make us laugh, cry, that will always endure.
It will, whether we're in a packed theater,
Right.
sharing those reactions with total strangers,
Yeah.
or curled up on the couch having a solitary movie night. Cinema connects us to these shared human experiences.
It's true. That's the real magic of it all, isn't it?
I think so.
It's that ability to step into someone else's shoes, to feel empathy and understanding,
Yeah.
to be moved
Yeah.
by stories that resonate on this deep emotional level.
Totally agree. So to circle back to the question that kind of kicked off our deep dive,
Yeah.
is there a clear winner in this cinematic showdown between streaming and theaters?
What do you think?
I don't think it's about declaring a victor.
Yeah.
Both formats have their strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
And I think the future of cinema likely lies in this hybrid model where they can coexist and complement each other.
That makes sense. It's fascinating to think about, what that future might actually look like.
I know.
Will VR cinema become the norm?
Hmm.
Will theaters evolve into these more interactive and immersive experiences?
Yeah.
Will we see even more, global stories finding their way to audiences worldwide?
Who knows? The possibilities really are endless.
They are.
And that's what makes this such an exciting time to be a film lover.
It does.
We're witnessing this transformation in how stories are told and shared.
Yeah.
And who knows what innovative storytelling forms will emerge in the years to come.
For one, I have to admit, all this talk about cinema has me itching to watch a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe like a classic on the big screen to appreciate the artistry we've been discussing.
That sounds like a perfect plan. And maybe later this week, I'll explore some of those international films that you mentioned.
Yeah.
The ones that might not have made it to my local theater.
That's the beauty of it all, right? We have access to this whole world of stories right at our fingertips.
At our fingertips. So thank you for joining us on this cinematic journey.
It's been fun.
It has. And we hope this deep dive has given you some new perspectives on the evolving landscape of film.
I think it has.
And remember, no matter how you choose to experience it, keep exploring the world of cinema. There are countless stories out there
I agree.
just waiting to be discovered.